This episode of Film Riot is brought to you by Domain.com. Today on Film Riot, we try out the Rhino Steady and compare it to the Glidecam. Welcome to Film Riot, the show that takes the mystery out of the effects and techniques to go into some of your favorite Hollywood films. Did you like that?
No.
I worked on it for like an hour.
I loved it.
Thanks, man. Stabilizers. And I'm not talking about digital, I'm talking about the real deal. Steadicams, Glidecams, easy rigs, and so on. There are so many to choose from, and they can get pretty expensive. I've used a ton of them through my career, some better than others, some not even remotely worth the price, and some are just like it's just a godsend from the heavens, like the easy rig, but unless you want to shell out like over $1,000, that one is out. The two that I got somewhat recently and have been toying around with is Glidecam 4000 and the Rhino Steady. So today, I'm gonna go through both of those and compare them to see which one will work best for your project. Bumper! Did you like that?
Bumper!
That's not an answer, you just did what I did, basically.
I felt uncomfortable. I didn't want to answer because I didn't like it.
I worked on that for 2 hours.
Because I loved it.
Thanks. I'm going to go through a bunch of things between these two, but the first thing is the setup and balancing of your system, which can be tricky with some stabilizers. You want to make sure you take the time up front to get it right. That way you are getting the best shots possible for your production and not having to toy with it when you're actually trying to get those shots. So first, let's start with the Glidecam, and with that Glidecam we have counterweights, screws, the main body, this thing, which they call a quick release plate, to which I say, ha! No. Now this comes in several pieces, but putting it together is pretty simple. You just screw the base to the pole and you're pretty much done. But the first thing I'm going to do here is attach my camera to the plate, which you'd really want an actual quick release plate for this. Normally I'd have one on here, but I didn't want to add any extra for this sort of setup since I'm going to be tying both of these to set it up and balance it, so I didn't want to give any unfair advantage. But when we do the shots, we're definitely going to use a quick release plate because it's kind of annoying otherwise. But now with it on, I'll lift it up to see where we are at, which the camera is too front heavy, and this is one of the reasons I hate this plate. If you misjudge where you mount the camera, now you have to take the plate off, unscrew the camera, and go through that all over again. Next, I'll add the counterweights to the carriage here and then lower the boom a bit, and continue adding and removing weights and selecting different boom heights until I finally get a good balance. And if I'm close, but just a touch off, we do have these knobs here that will make very small adjustments for the front and the back and side to side. So you can really dial it in with those. And now I'm going to do my timing, which is where you're going to take the bottom, lift it up, and then let it drop and count out the seconds it takes to drop. You're going to want to be somewhere in the 2 to 3 second area, but just do some tests and see what works best for you. But once you've done all that, you will have a nicely balanced system. So, how long did all that take for this one? After connecting the camera to the system, I was able to get it all balanced in just under 14 minutes. Of course, that is the first time that I've used this specific camera on this system, so next time I would likely cut it down to probably around 5 minutes or so. But now let's move on to the Rhino Steady, which you have the main body, the bottom counterweight, and the smaller front weight. So you're gonna screw on the larger weight to the bottom down here and the smaller up front. Then we can screw on our camera, and this is something that I really love about the Rhino. You have these tracks here, which add an easy way to dial in your balance, but I'm gonna get at that in a second. So now we screw on the camera, and we are ready to start balancing it. But before we do, make sure that the camera is exactly how you intend to use it. With both of these setups, you want the card in, you need a fresh battery. If there's something that you're putting on the hot shoe, do that now. The weight has to be exactly how you're doing it, otherwise later you're going to have to rebalance it all over again, and that goes for any system that you're going to balance. But now I'm gonna add a weight to the bottom here. One big weight should do it, and after that I'll add a few to the front as well. But now with the camera on, I'll use the track to position my camera to best distribute the weight. So now I'll hold it up to see where I'm at, which you still won't have a fully balanced camera unless you get crazy lucky. So I'm gonna shift the weights, screw the bottom and the front in more if need be, and shift the camera around on the track until I have a solid balance for my system, which took me just under 3 minutes to set up and balance. So in the simplicity and time it takes to get going, Rhino Steady definitely wins. So remember, when balancing your camera on your stabilizing rig, be sure to start with the camera fully set up, how you intend to shoot with it, cards, battery, lights, filters, mic, whatever you will be attaching, then balance and drop test. Finding that right time is something that a lot of new flyers will miss as well, making their shots more difficult to get. But now that we are all set up, let's take a quick break, and then we'll see how these babies look in action. If you like
to waltz with tomatoes.
If a squash can make you smile.
Fact.
Now, there's a bunch of people like, what just happened? And then a ton of people like, what? I know what that is. If you need a website of any kind, if you want to be seen on the interwebs, why not get a .net? You should. It's perfect. I'll tell you why. It's universally known to inject your website with instant credibility. You'll find advantages of using that .net. Plus, you can get the .com and the .net. Protect your brand. Like if you have an awesome website name, like this is my website.com, and this
That's
is
actually kind of awesome.
.net. That, I wonder, I'm actually going to check after this to see if that it has to exist already. Anyway, you can get both and protect that awesome name. Plus, .nets are cheap from domain.com. You can get them for $8.99 a year. That is affordable, if I do say so myself. And we can make it more affordable. I'll tell you how.
Yo, preach it!
I will have a church in here. You can use 15% off. You can get that 50% off by using the coupon code
50?
FilmRiot. No, 15.
Oh.
I was just getting too excited.
Well, you said it sounded like.
Yeah, we don't want to put any misinformation into the world. It's 15.
15, yo.
That's a lot of percentage.
Preach it.
You got $8.99 a year. That's ridiculously cheap. You slap that coupon code FilmRiot on there, you get another 15% off. Come on now.
Preach it.
Come on now.
Preach it.
That's savings. When you think domain names, think domain.com. Logo. So now I have these lovely ladies balanced and ready to go. I took them outside for a bit of testing. First, I started off with still shots, just something over the shoulder like a conversation scene, just to see how these would fare with standing still. And they both were equally as good, but I found that the Rhino Steady's smaller frame and light weight really helped to make this shot a lot more workable. I could have held there for a while without getting tired, whereas with the Glidecam, I started to feel it by the end of the shot already. Next, I faked a jib type shot. The Rhino Steady lightweight made this actually a little bit harder to get solid, whereas the Glidecam's weight was actually a plus in this test. Moving on, again, we have just a regular walking shot, and with this, I'm a bit split. The Glidecam was actually a little bit smoother for me, but I was able to keep the framing I wanted much easier with the Rhino Steady, and here is the reason why. It's because of the tilt and pan wheels that the Rhino Steady has. You just put your thumb on this wheel here, and you pan the rig in the direction you want, or you put it up here to get some tilt action, which is a bit harder to control, but it works lovely. With the Glidecam, you would actually have to use the other hand that you have free on the pole like this to get your pans and your tilts. But next I moved to a running shot. With this one, I prefer the Rhino Steady just a little bit more, again, because of the light weight, and the pan wheel was much easier to keep the lens pointed where I wanted. But those are the basic functions that you're gonna use with a system like this. For the most part, you got your running shots and your walking shots. But I would say setup and balancing, the Rhino Cam was much easier and wins that route. On ease of use, I would say again, the Rhino takes that as well. The pan tilt wheels and its lightweight really make it easy to control and allows a shooter to get out there longer without fatigue. But in the case of smoothness, I will go with the Glidecam. It is close, but the Glidecam is a bit smoother for sure. Now, with that being said, I actually don't have a clear winner. I think I would use each of these for different reasons. It would really depend on what the shot called for. If I can only use one hand, I'm definitely reaching for the Rhino Steady, but if I'm doing a slow walk and talk shot, I would probably grab the Glidecam. However, the Rhino Steady is much cheaper than my Glidecam 4000, with the Rhino at $325 and the Glidecam at around $600. Of course, you could go down to the Glidecam 2000, which goes for $500, but the fact that a stabilizer that's almost $300 cheaper can keep up with my Glidecam is really impressive, and another reason why I think the Rhino Steady is a great starter stabilizer. If you've never owned one before and you're looking to get your feet wet, this is definitely a great starting point. And it's perfect for smaller cameras too. If you have anything lighter than a 5D, I would go with the Rhino Steady. The Glidecam is just overkill at that point, but if your camera is heavier than a 5D, I would go with the Glidecam.
Can't you feel it much as does it seem? Bringing the best out of you, we will be true. Keep away from things that bring you down. We will make it easy because it makes me feel it like this. for the best. Surely for the best. Hey, come on, baby, come and drive me to your river. Surely for the best.
Logo. But that is, in fact, it. A look at the setup, balancing, and use of these two great stabilizers. If you want to know more about them, you can find more about the Rhino Steady right here and the Glidecam right here. And as always, if you have a question or you just want to say hi, jump over to my Twitter page and do that. And I'll see you guys next week when I stab my friend in the leg to get away from the cave creatures. Check it out.